My dear brothers, sisters, teens, and my very dear children, in this season of ordinary time, we reflect on a new series of themes from today. As we celebrate the World Day of Migrants and Refugees, our theme today is Be Sensitized. From history we know that once upon a time there was not a single man in this island. There was nobody in this island, and all of us are migrants. Some time back, I read this newspaper report from domestic helper to law degree holder. 6 years back, this Sri Lankan lady came to Singapore as a domestic helper. Her dream was to get a law degree from the University of London. Where there is a will, please continue. Where there is a will, there is a way. While her friends spent their weekends at the parks, she spent her weekends attending virtual classes. She would listen to lectures while cooking dinner and cleaning the utensils. She didn't buy any lipstick or makeup. She saved every single dollar for her degree. God sent an angel to her life. Who was the angel? Her employer encouraged her to continue her studies. And later, the domestic helper said, she is like a mother caring for her child's education. All I can say is, I am blessed. Brothers and sisters, according to the United Nations, there are more than 100 million refugees in the world. Closer to home, according to the Ministry of Manpower, there are 1.5 million migrant workers in Singapore. 5 facts about the construction workers. Number 1, most of them live in dormitories, which means several people in one single room. Number 2, often they are transported to and fro by lorries to the construction sites. Number 3, many of them work for lower wages. Number 4, they work for longer hours. Number 5, they often fall ill, and some even die at work. The church gives us the right reading for this day. In today's second reading, St. James warns about the exploitation of workers. In those days, the landlords exploited the workers. St. James says, the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. The employers delayed wages. St. James says, Listen to the wages that you kept back calling out. Brothers and sisters, now one question to all of you. What makes us blind to the sufferings of the poor? A self-centered mindset makes us blind to the sufferings of the poor. In today's gospel, Jesus says, if your hand should cause you to sin, cut it off. In other words, discard things which make you self-centered. In today's context, Jesus would say, now you must help me to complete the sentences. If your TV causes you to sin, turn it off. If your computer causes you to sin, disconnect it. If your magazine subscription causes you to sin, cancel it, save some paper. If your job position causes you to sin, resign from it, go for holiday. If your bank balance causes you to sin, give it away. If your handphone causes you to sin, put it aside. Jesus invites us to shift our focus from being self-centered to being other-centered. Why? Because then we begin to appreciate the value of others in our lives. The migrant workers, the refugees are people who work for us. And Jesus says, anyone who is not against us is for us. Let us not forget the migrant workers who built the skyscrapers in our city. I would like to share some of our outreach programs. Recently, our YCS teens organized a beautiful program for the migrant workers at our multipurpose hall. What did they do? They played some fun games with the migrant workers. Some of the workers played, while other migrant workers just sat down and they enjoyed the games. One important segment of the program was breakout sharing, when teens listened to the workers. From their interaction with migrant workers, teens learned about their struggles and anxieties. By the end of the day, they became friends with each other. Another outreach program. Our Edelweiss NCC recently celebrated National Day in their neighborhood. They have a few domestic helpers in their NCC. I observed something very beautiful. The NCC was very inclusive. The domestic helpers were also dressed in red. They too enjoyed the celebrations. Dear brothers and sisters, in his message for Migrants Day, Pope Francis says, God walks with his people. God chose to dwell in a tent and not in a temple. Why? So that he could walk with his people. It is not we who help the migrants. Rather, the migrants help us to encounter God. Today, our San Pedro Calungsod choir will sing the recessional hymn. With one voice, we will bring justice to the world. Brothers and sisters, let us ensure justice to migrants and refugees in our neighborhood. Be sensitized. Amen.